So a San Francisco couple was recently fined $1,500 for parking in their own parking garage. This is in San Francisco. I mean, why wouldn't this be in San Francisco, right? City claims the fine was based on decades-old city code. Well, maybe they need to clean up that city code. Let's find out. This is what we're talking about. If you're new to the show, welcome. My name is Sean Reynolds. I own a couple of real estate companies here in Seattle, Washington. And these are the kind of stories that you want to know and I want to read to you. So that's what we're doing. All right, let's get into it. Enough of the silly intro. For decades, Judy and Ed Craine parked their car in the driveway in front of their San Francisco home. They've probably got a lot of equity in their home. If they've owned it for decades, San Francisco, it's gone way up in value, right? Parking in the Golden City can be tricky with its steep hills and busy streets. And the Craines say that they were lucky to have a spot that's all their own for the past 36 years. Probably a multi-million-dollar home by now. And it's a teardown. How crazy. That is, they were happy to have this parking spot until they received a $1,542 fine for parking on their own property, with the threat of a $250 per day fee if they didn't get the car off their carpad. So what is going on here? Well, the Craines told ABC affiliate 𝐏𝐞𝐸 that the San Francisco Planning Department is enforcing a decades-old section of code that bans motor vehicles of all kinds from being parked on a carpad or setback in front of a house unless it's accompanied by a garage or cover. So theirs is clearly open. In real estate terms, we call that just an open spot. But it is a spot, and it does count because you've got literally on-site parking. Off-site parking meaning anywhere on the street, but off the building site. So this one is, you could put a garage there probably, or you could put a, carport over the top of it, some kind of shelter. But they didn't. For the last 36 years, they haven't had one. And now they're getting a fine and they're being told, all right, it's going to be $250. $250 a day is what the state of Washington is paying crazy people to not be in mental institutions because we don't have enough space for them if we are violating their due process in a court case. $250 to crazy people because we can't get them into a mental institution. These folks are parking their own car on their own real estate, and they're being fined $250 per day. So I wrote them back saying that I thought this was a mistake, Judy Craine said. Added Ed Craine, to all of a sudden be told that you can't use something that we could use for years, it's startling, inexplicable. Now, you would think that the city would send out some notices and basically just tell them, hey, we're low on money. We need some more for the budget. Therefore, we're going to start fining people if they can't, move their car without having carport or garage over the top of it on their own building site. This to me that's pretty bold on the city's part. I mean, I would be upset if I had a place for 36 years and then all of a sudden, no, you can't do that. It's a code on the county books. Well, where's it been the last 36 years? Wow, just haven't enforced it. Alrighty then. So that should be a code that should probably be eliminated from said code book, right? The Craines believe the space has been used for parking since the house was built in 1910. 112 years of parking, and all of a sudden, no can do. It's going to cost you. So the planning department told the couple that the city would waive the fine if they could prove that the lot has historically been used for parking. Oh, that's stupid. Look, it's a parking spot. What else are you going to do there? It's like paved. You got a car on it. You've had a car on that for years. So the Craines dug up a photo of their daughter from 34 years ago where their car is just visible in the driveway. But officials said that photo wasn't old enough, not nearly. How far back do you need to go? Forever? Sounds like it. Then after a lot of Googling, they found a blurry aerial photo from 1938. How in the world did they find that? That is some searching. They found a blurry aerial photo from 1938 that shows a car or possibly a horse and buggy pulling into the driveway of the home. But the planning department says that they were never shown this photo and will reconsider Craines' parking plight. I mean, just go out there and look at it. Yeah, okay. It is what it is. The 1938 aerial photo shown in ABC 7's segment was never shared with the department. Daniel, somebody right from the planning department, told ABC, the first we learned of it was during Friday's broadcast. To that end, we're reopening the matter and hope to have more clarity in the coming days because we look like asses for enforcing this really, really old code. The planning department was alerted to the Craines' use of the driveway by an anonymous complaint that was lodged against the Craines and two of their neighbors who were also tagged within the same violation. Did somebody like search through the code, San Francisco code, and go, parking there? I mean, from this old, that's insane. But some people just have nothing better to do they? You can't park a car there. Man, they would have a field day here in Washington State because we allow people to park any kind of car, running or not, anywhere, park it in a park. It's okay. Just leave it there. A little oil in the park. It's all right. I mean, oil came from the earth. It's going back into the earth. It's all good. Never mind, tax-paying citizens can't use their own park because your broken down car is in there. But, so how does this couple who's been doing the same thing for years and years and years, how's that work? And you've got all these RVs and buses and broken down stuff. I mean, go down to Portland. Look at Portland's crazy, just park your car and live in it wherever communities. I mean, it's just, it makes no sense at all, does it? Sider told ABC News that the anonymous request about their property was made last year, but was not enforced until the Craines sought to renew their permit to use the property for short-term rentals. So something triggered it, right? They went to pull a permit. The municipal code bans new permits until outstanding code enforcement issues in the property are resolved. So that's what made it happen. So, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but the actual content is shocking because this should be an eminent domain case. It should be not eminent domain, adverse possession. It's where you use something for long enough. But adverse possession, people always throw that out there. Eminent domain is when the government takes property for use for like new freeways going in, something like that. And they pay you market value. Yeah. And but adverse possession, people always want to say, I've been using it for 6 months. Can I get it? Can I have the property deeded over to me through adverse possession? Most jurisdictions have like a 10-year rule where you have to be using it openly and defiantly for like 10 years and basically just take over that property. And then maybe you can start that process. But actually winning that process, very, very difficult to do in most situations. So people talk about that, but it just doesn't really happen. Slider previously told KGO that the code was enacted decades ago for aesthetic reasons. I didn't want people parking their car willy-nilly. They should come to 2022 and see what's going on now. It seems like that code is, I recognize that the property owner is frustrated. I think I would feel the same way in their situation, Sider said in an email. This is where they're backtracking and they're going to make some adjustments here. But the planning code doesn't allow for the city to grandfather illegal uses on account of their having flown below the radar for a long length of time. No, but this one is pretty reasonable. And I would say that because it's on their property, let them do what they need to do with their own property. The city has since closed the case against the Craines and threw out the fines after the couple agreed to no longer use the spot. That is just not reasonable. They should be able to use it. I mean, what else are they going to do? Are they going to put some planters out there? We've got this beautiful planting thing, but our car's out in the street. We got our catalytic converter stolen, but at least our plants are safe and they've got a nice spot. However, that might be under reconsideration if the 1938 aerial photo passes the test. Comes down to a Googled aerial photo from 1938, and somebody's eyesight, whether it's good enough to recognize, yep, that's a car, possibly a horse and buggy, therefore proving that over the years it's been meant for parking. I mean, how about you just go out there and look at it? Well, it looks like it's had a lot of use over the years. Got some good oil stains there on that concrete. I assume it's concrete, probably not asphalt. Who knows? Maybe it's dirt. You see that in front of people's houses. It doesn't have to be concrete. City officials told the Craines that the couple can build a cover for the carpad or a garage if they want to continue to park there. When you appraise multifamily real estate, and also condominiums, and single family homes to some extent, but we just don't have as much anymore. On the actual appraisal forms, oftentimes you will have a blank for how many spaces do you have that you can park cars on, because that has real value. So taking a spot away from somebody because they can't quite prove that it's been used for parking over the years, that to me, that's a real negative PR deal for the city. I think that's why they threw out the fines, except it sounds like they can't use the parking spot anymore. And that absolutely sucks. But, governmental entities, they don't usually run by reason, especially San Francisco. So hopefully for these folks, they can find that picture, or they can find another picture or something, or convince some person in the government at San Francisco to just cut them a break. And hey, do you think for another 10 years, if we're able to live for another 10 years, we could park on our own parking space? Just let that happen. I mean, it's just absolutely silly. But that's the thing with codes. Oftentimes, you've got these wild codes and they have to be cleared. I think I've talked about the very first house that I sold as the buyer's agent in Seattle in the Central District. There was an infraction on the title for having too many chickens on the property. I think I'm remembering that correctly. And so title literally, I think, sent somebody out to inspect the property. Yeah, imagine that. It was probably 91. And there weren't any chickens running around at that point in time. This house was selling for, I think the contractor picked it up at auction for $16,000, and he had done a $15,000 rehab, and he was selling it for $90,000. I mean, it was some good money. And that's right before housing in Seattle went from 90 to 150 to 250 to 350. Just massive runs. Just, as more and more people, hey, Seattle, it's a pretty good spot. Microsoft somewhere around there, right? And then all the tech bros started coming in. And that house now in the Central District, is that lot worth, what would that lot be worth? Is that lot worth $600,000? Something like that, 1.8? It might be. It was a small lot. It might not be that much, but you get the idea. And with a nice big house on it, it is a couple million. Sure, absolutely. So, times change. This poor couple's parking space, it hasn't changed one iota. Neither is the city code. Something's got to be changed there. And this wouldn't have come up unless ABC did their investigative reporting. And I'm reading this from ABC News. So there's that, right? They got a little spotlight put on their carpad, and yeah. So I hope that they can continue parking there. That would be my wish for them, because this whole scenario is simply not reasonable. But without being able to prove it, I mean, what do you do? Trust us. We've been parking there for 36 years. Sure. I mean, that's what the officials are going to say. But literally, it seems like some other neighbor would be able to say, they've been parking their car there for decades and decades. Let them keep going. And what kind of car is it that they're parking there that people are worked up about? I can't even see this being an issue. But whatever it is. So there's that. So hopefully this will get resolved as I see this story come up, or if it comes, it probably won't. If you find out if they found the photo from 1938, let me know. I'll report back here. I'll do a little update. Okay. Thanks for being here. We'll catch up soon. Talk then. Bye for now.